So my daughter, she tried to take her own life. And that moment changed something inside me, very deep inside me. It made me realize I could not keep living disconnect from myself, just surviving, hold everything together and try to look strong. But that's when I started really go very deep in my inner journey. Not to become someone else, quite the opposite, to find my true self and to heal myself properly.
Hi, you're listening to On Your Terms with me, Hayley Ryan. This is the show where two people get honest about the messy reality of choosing yourself. No scripts, no performance, just real conversation about self-abandonment, boundaries, and what it actually looks like to live on your own terms. So let's get into it.
Hi, welcome to this week's podcast. In the episode today, I'm speaking to Andrea, and she is an energy healer and the founder of Pura Vida Wellness and Holistic Healing. Thank you so much for joining me today, Andrea.
My pleasure. It's a true pleasure to be here with you, Haley, and share my story.
Thank you so much. I'm really grateful. So you lost everything, but the self-abandonment kind of started way before that when you were married, didn't it? When you kind of was losing your identity in your marriage. So do you want to tell me sort of what happened back then and what kind of patterns and behaviors you were seeing in yourself?
Yes, absolutely. So I started dating it was my first boyfriend and the husband. So it was the only man I had in my life. So I met him, I was 16 and got married at the age of 20. I was very young. By the way, I'm from Brazil, just for the public to know. And when I got married, I did not realize that I was changing myself. Then I abandoned myself, the true authentic Andrea. It was a very big part that, and that was not in just one moment. It started very quietly. As soon as we got married, little by little, I started to lose my identity. I started stop listening to myself. I was trying to hold everything together, trying to be strong, try to make things work. But without realize, I started leaving myself. I ignored what I felt. I stayed longer than I should. I chose peace outside instead of truth inside. And that pattern followed me through my whole marriage. From the outside, I looked fine. I was functional. I was there. I was the wife. I was the mother. I was the friend. But I was not fully there because deep inside, I was feeling that something was missing inside me. What would set my soul on fire? It's like I had to become someone that was not really to the core in order to try to make my marriage work. So that it was very difficult for me in that aspect. And then from the I was always anxious. Sometimes I used to wake up in the middle of the night. I did not feel joy in the simple things in life. And I know that I was always like that until I got divorced, Haley. Then when I remember one night after that I got divorced, I was staring at the mirror and I stared at the woman at the mirror and I told her, who is this woman staring at you? Where were all your dreams? You did not achieve your dreams. You changed your life completely and you don't even recognize, I was not even recognize who I was. So I had to start doing inner work to find myself again, to find what did set Andrea on fire, my soul on fire. Who was the real Andrea? What did drive Andrea? What did make Andrea in peace, Andrea happy? What did make Andrea whole?
Yeah. And what did that sort of process look like then?
So since I got divorced, it was not an easy path because when I got divorced, both of us realized there was not more love involved, but still, really, I spent 31 years of my life with the same man. That was my first everything. And then losing my identity. And at the beginning, at the first year of my divorce, I knew that I had to be there for my daughters because because I knew that I need to be strong and show to my daughter that everything was fine, that I could have my full support. And then, but on that first year, I was very lost. I didn't know, to be honest, I did not know what I came here to do in this lifetime. That's one thing that's very important. And I saw that my happiness was to be in a relationship, find someone. So I went in a few dates, but those dates were not fulfilling me. Because in order for me to be in a beautiful relationship, what I realized, what I learned was, has to be mind, body, and soul aligned. That's very important for me. And it wasn't, I could not meet anyone like that. So I was going out a lot, doing things that I did not did on my teenager years. But from the outside, I look fine, I look fun, everything was, oh, Andrea, you look great. But from the inside, I could not find my true self. What did it really put in me find this inner peace? So it was little by little that I tried to find that not the old Andrea, because the old Andrea was a teenager. When I got divorced, I was 44 years old. So it was like I had to find that woman that was staring at me. And I realized that the first thing I had to give for me was self-love and start to accept who I was becoming and do the little things that would make me giving me some self-love, self-acceptance, and really real small things like grounding myself. Instead of me trying, what I realized was I was trying to be so strong for my daughters, but then that was not working. So that's when I really started my inner journey and started doing my deep spiritual path, and it became energy healer. That I started doing energy healer certification program to heal myself first. And then from that, I did geometry healing. That's very powerful. I became Reiki master. From that, I learned from the native Indian shamanic work, and after I became a hypnotherapist. And that is very important to tell. That was to learn to heal myself first, but then from that, found this deep sense of peace and gratitude that I never found before in my life. Wake up feeling, and I found out that deep happiness for me is wake up every day with this inner sense of peace and gratitude. And I realized if I can do that for me, if I got to this point, everybody can get. So that's when I started helping people
Yeah.
on
I
my spiritual
completely
awakening. Yes.
I completely get that because like I obviously my story is very different to yours. I kind of lost my identity as I was growing up because I like to call myself a people pleaser in recovery. Because I used to basically go in rooms and I would be the person that everybody just needed me to be rather than being me because I was so scared of like rejection and abandonment that I just wanted to be the person that everybody wanted me to be or the person that was indispensable because if you're that person then people don't discard you, they don't get rid of you. So when I had my spiritual awakening, I did a certification in trauma informed spiritual life coaching, and that was my way of like working through my inner work to figure out how I could help other people do the same. So it's that bit really, really resonates. Were you spiritual while you were married as well, or did the spirituality come afterwards as you were trying to find yourself again?
So I was always told like I was always curious about the spirituality, but because I was raised as a Catholic. But to be honest, I always had a huge faith and believe in God. God is always something that I always believe. But I think the conventional religion, it was something that I would disagree in some situations because I really believe that we are here to evolve. I believe in past lives. I believe that we come here to really evolve, to become a more evolved spirit. So that for me was a little, but I always curious about that. I was always felt that we have to do good in this world. You have to find a way to help others. Being just as a human being, be a decent one. I always want to help people in some way. I was always an empath, and but it was really after my divorce that I had to dig much deeper because I had to go through my own pain in order to go dig deeper. Unfortunately, Hayley, what I realized for most people, I'm not going to say everybody, but many people, they just have this huge awakening when they go through hard seasons in their lives. That's when they realize that the reality that we live is not enough. We have to find that from inside ourselves. And that awakening, unfortunately, most of the time comes from our own pain.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I've seen that in myself, and I've seen that in a lot of the people that I've spoken with in my life and on this podcast as well. And that is one of the very common threads. And I, like you, I believe in like past lives. I'm a certified soul realignment practitioner, so I believe in past lives and karmic, like negative karmic patterns and all that sort of stuff. So it's very sort of strange how when we are being tested and we're struggling, we do tend to sort of kind of grasp onto to something that's bigger than ourselves to kind of give everything meaning and
Absolutely, absolutely.
everything.
On the different seasons in my life, that's what I realized that if I did not have that inside me, that faith inside me, knowing that something bigger than eyes exists and they are there to support us. I don't know if I would be here talk to you today because I
Yeah,
had very hardship in my life, I have very difficult and heavy seasons in my life. But the healing work never stops. Like we are constantly healing, and the life is through new challenges at you, and you have to know that they are necessary for your own evolution.
yeah, definitely. Because that's another thing I believe in. I believe that the soul is here to guide us through our life lessons, and we have specific life lessons that we need to learn, and then once we've learned that, we move on to the next one, and that is how things just progress. So I think a lot of the hardships are not necessarily tests as such, but they are kind of teaching us what we are happy to accept, and more
Absolutely.
importantly, what we are not happy to accept. And I think, especially in relationships, I think sometimes you have to go through those really bad relationships to understand what your non negotiables are so you can find a relationship that works for you.
Absolutely. I think those tests, what we have to see is on those tests is very important. First thing that you use those tests because what happen most people when they go through very hardship in their lives, what they happen is they go to this very low vibration place that they keep asking why this happened to me, why all these bad things are happening to me, and instead of us focus on the struggles, the pain, we have to use that pain to make us stronger. And instead of focus on the pain, try to focus in every situation of what you can learn out of that experience, what that experience is trying to teach you. Because every difficult situation in my life, I was through my going through my own pain, but at the same time, I had to find a space inside myself to stop and focus on the negativity, on the heaviness of the situation, all that pain, and try to extract of that pain what I could use from that pain to make me stronger, to make me more resilient, to make me able to overcome, to make me feel safe from the inside, to start to value myself and find that safety inside myself.
Yeah, exactly. Like I find safety from turning struggle into purpose, and that's how I cope with things personally. I know other people don't look at it that way because their struggle is so bad that they just can't see a way out of it. But for me personally, that helps me stay happy, it helps me stay healthy, and it helps me keep moving forward. I think
Absolutely.
if I didn't have that sort of mindset of what can I learn from this struggle and how can I build on it, like how can I do things different moving forward, I think I would just be kind of paralyzed and stuck and catastrophizing everything. And I just wouldn't, I'm not sure how long I would be able to endure that kind of life.
Absolutely. One thing that I think that's also very important, Haley, when you are going through very difficult seasons in our life or situation, it's very important that you let yourself grieve. It's very important you let yourself go through the all emotions. If you wanna cry, cry. And they also find support around you because you don't have to do that alone. You don't have to. And right now that I'm still going through the most difficult season of my life, I'm still going through that. But if it was not for support, I don't know where I would be. So it's very important to recognize the pain. I'm not saying that you have to go the pain out. What I'm saying is let yourself heal properly. And the healing properly for me means you have to go to that those emotions come to the surface to release everything because when you hold that inside and you try to show to the outside world that it looks fine, then you won't be able to heal properly. It's very important that you have to peel layer by layer of those feelings in order to heal properly. Because when I work with people, a lot of people they come to me because many times they are high function from the outside, but from the inside they are feeling miserable, and that's why because they have this need to show fine, but they are not doing the inner work properly. But when you start to peel layer by layer, then you start to feel lighter little by little.
Yeah, because they're working on the root cause rather than just trying to address the surface issues that are just going to keep coming back and popping up in one way, shape, or another.
Yes, we have to recognize first. That's why it goes through that difficult season in our life. We have to recognize all that pain. And from that, when you recognize that and if we accept that and we start to live in a way that we forgive ourselves many times and stop living in shame, stop living in not forgiveness, and then you start to find a little bit more trust in yourself. It's so important you start trusting your own judgment again. Give yourself a little bit of love. Self-love, self-acceptance is crucial. Stop living in a way that, because most people, they live in a way that they want to please others. But then, if the inside, you have to become your true authentic self and stop so much worry about what people think about you, because when this happens, it frees you in a way that you start to feel safer from the inside. You start to love yourself and accept yourself much more unconditionally. That's when you start to live much more light than the darkness. You start to find the light is much easier to you.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously we've talked about you losing yourself in your marriage and then the divorce and trying to sort of start your spiritual journey and the inner work. What moment or series of moments led to that happening? What was kind of going on in your life that made you realize like this is it. I can't go on like this. Something needs to change.
Yeah, I think my turning point for that I really decided it start with my daughter's a suicide attempt. So my daughter, she tried to take her own life, and that was as a mother that I love my daughters unconditionally. It was very, very difficult. And that moment changed something inside me, very deep inside me. It made me realize I could not keep living disconnect from myself, just surviving, holding everything together and try to look strong. And that's when I really, after my daughter attempted suicide, took a little bit, but that's when I started really go very deep in my inner journey. I went deep in my spiritual path, and then I became energy healer, hypnotherapist, learned different healing programs, did different healing programs, not to become someone else, quite the opposite, to find my true self and to heal myself properly. And during that spiritual awakening, I also started helping people. It was beautiful because I started, people started coming for me to experience like stress, to experience lack of self-love. It was a lot of traumas regarding that not loving themselves unconditionally, have a lot of stress, and they looked fine from the outside world. But that's how my work really began to help people to live the experience through my own pain and my own healing. So that it really helped me to when I start to realize that I could get to that point to my own healing journey, doing little things, that I realized that I could also help others. But besides that, one thing that is very important came is so that my daughter had the very, like I told you, she just tried to take her own life. And that was in 2018. And then in 2000, took me, I would say, I was progressing, but took me more or less to really go dig deep, almost 2 years. And then in 2021, I went to a very deep type of relationship that was my twin flame journey. And that twin flame journey, I had to learn to love myself unconditionally, let it go, the outcome, and really be able to love myself so unconditionally. And nowadays, that twin flame journey, I learned that the, I have to love myself more than anyone else in this life. And I learned to love that woman staring at me in the mirror, to love that beautiful, imperfect being, and know my value here. I know how I can help humanity and help people to find their own light. But that was not it. I saw that everything was that. But then they had my scan that I was a victim of a pig laundering scam that I ended up losing everything. It was August of last year in a very drastic way. So it broke me, really, but at the same time, it showed me a strength and resilience that was inside me that I did not even know I had. And that, when you go through something like that, the first thing that came to me, because the signals were there, crystal clear, it was the biggest emotion that came first to me was shame. I felt so much shame about that because I was always very intuitive. The signs were there, they were clear. I just did not want to see them. And that was one of the hardest parts to face, that shame. And it really not know just to know what really happened, but also to tell my family, to tell my daughters that I lost everything. And it goes through that pain, that was that shame. I realized that was not doing any good for me because my family was trying to be supportive, my daughters. Nobody was like directly criticizing me. They were giving me a lot of support. And so I think the big part of me about that situation that it happened last year, that I'm still going through that, was forgiving myself, was stopping the shame, was understand that I made a choice from the level of love, hope, pain, and the longing that I was in that time. And slowly I had to learn that forgiving myself was not to make an excuse. It was the only way I could come back to myself, to safety.
Yeah, and that's so important. So when you lost everything, was that as a result of this twin flame journey that you were on? Or was
No,
that
when
something
I lost
different?
everything, my twin flame journey happened in January 2021. Took me a whole year was still, and I think when I lost everything on this scan, to be honest, if I have to be honest with myself, was really because I think that was residual of my twin flame to really be able to move that chapter of my life, and that I want to find someone to fulfill that gap. And that was not the case, but I was trying. That's what I feel, that my intuition got really blurry because the signals were there, even though it's a huge, after everything happened, I know that's a huge group of criminals, very high level criminal, because it was through a fake app that you download from the Apple Store. And everything was done from there, from a crypto fake app. But that's when I realized that I was still trying to move away from my twin flame. And honestly, nowadays, I found that because of that pain or the hardship from this love scam, I learned once more time to be stronger than I ever been, to be more resilient. And when I look at myself, I'm so proud of everything that I'm going through and be able to. I'm still going to the hell right now, but I still wake up every day with so much gratitude and love. And one thing that is very important, I feel that I tell is when this happened to me, one thing that I prayed to God was for the lose everything that I had here in myself. Because it really is a roller coaster. It's never stop healing, but it'll be less bumps and ups. And that was my biggest fall in my whole life was this scan, but at the same time, I found inside myself the faith and the resilience and look at me in the mirror and tell, do you know what? You are going through all that, but you are overcome everything. And I'm so proud of who I'm becoming of that. Because there is also a lot of ego death here. Because nowadays, really, I learned to value every little thing that comes to my life. I learned to value that. So I love life because I really feel that life is a very beautiful and amazing journey. And you'll be able to experience all the emotions, as traumatic as it can be. You learn so much out of that. And I feel that nowadays I never been so with so much self-love for myself because of that, because I'm so proud of who I'm becoming, to be honest.
I love that for you. That's amazing. So, when you finally decided to choose yourself, you've mentioned obviously you started your spiritual journey, you started energy healing, and you were working with people and helping them through their struggles as well as you working through your own. What did that kind of look like? Were you helping others and learning from their experiences as well as your own?
Absolutely. People, I think many people, they have the misconception. Some people, they have this misconception when they look for a holistic approach of healing, energy healing like myself. They think that we have our life all figured out, that our life is perfect. And you are just human being as everybody else. We go through our own struggles. And one thing that I can tell you is I learned from them as well. But one thing that I feel that's why I appreciate so much I mean the positive side of my daughter's situation, my twin flame journey, my marriage, my the scan of last year was really that I had lived those experience and then he goes through traumatic situations like that because I did not lose it just a few. I lost everything. And it was even worse because in order for me to try to recover the money, I end up putting my house now is in a huge debt that I mean I have to try to sell my house because I was so naive that I put myself in debt that I had never before. But I know that nowadays I became so much stronger knowing that and I can understand people's pain with so much more depth and I can put myself on what they are navigating through because I know what it is. You lose the love that you thought that was the love of your life. That is a type. It's like because to inflammation is like a soul mirror. Is a very very deep and extreme connection. I lost everything financially because it's one thing when you don't have nothing, you build self up. Another thing is that when you have everything and you lose everything. So I had to go through all that things and really giving myself using tools that I learned on my energy journey, like journaling, meditating, do a lot of breath work, do clear myself, balancing my energy field on my chakras, do all those things, be in nature that fits my soul, giving myself self-love. But at the same time, knowing that I people could help me get the emotional support as well, and they feel they love, they feel that how much I'm loved by others, by family, by some friends, by strangers that will show an act of kindness towards me. So I think everything adds to what I'm able to overcome all this, and they also helping people with so much more depth because I'm not fixed, Haley. I don't think healing works like that. What is still hard is I don't think that because people think that we are not broken. Okay, we are not broken. People that have to understand that nobody is broken. Nobody is broken because you are going through difficult situations or difficult in your life. Doesn't mean that you are broken. Does mean that you never felt safe to start with. So I'm still hard. It's still hard for me. I'm still catch up. And sometimes I'm still catch the moments where I start to live myself again. Sometimes I live myself again and I have to go dig deeper inside myself. Some days I will still go through that because I'm going to navigate with this struggle right now that losing everything and have to rebuild has not been easy, but I'm still trying to showing up for myself without trying to rush, without trying to want to control everything. And I know that I'm little by little, I'm getting to, like I told the roller coaster on the healing journey, I'm getting stronger and stronger and better. And now I can see that I had to first accept what I made, forgive myself. You will always have to forgive ourselves. And little by little start to feel safe from within and start to stare at the person that is in front of you and start to be proud of who she's becoming.
Yeah. So how have you gone about like building yourself back up then? So obviously the first thing was like letting go of that shame that you felt and forgiving yourself for what you've done and the events around like surrounding everything. So what sort of steps have you taken since then to choose yourself and protect yourself, I guess?
Yeah, I think that first thing was really to accept what happened to me. Okay, because and knowing that I had to go through that situation, so the grief, the confusion, because that was real, and I accepted that. I knew that I could not just stay feeling sorry for myself, stop victimizing myself, and use that instead of victimizing myself, what I could do to overcome myself, how what I could do, little things like, for example, let's say I used to wake up very drained. I let myself to cry a lot. I let myself to cry a lot, to release a lot. And then when I release a lot, I cried a lot. Then I start to feel relief on that. And then going through my day and look to the connect with each for me, it's very important for me connect with whatever you wanna call higher power, God, spirituality, but really connect with my higher self and ask my higher self to give myself a little bit of love and giving myself a little bit of love and doing things like breath work. For example, for me, when I was feeling very low, so the first thing for me, crying helped me a lot, but at the same time, to calm my nervous system, to put my nervous system stop in a fight flight mode, to make my nervous system feel safer, I was doing breath work. Just 5 minutes of breath work in and out. Focus on that. That put myself in. Then I was ready to start it, to face my day and Little by little, I start to feeling better. I start to feel stronger. Meditate also helps a lot. Some even though on those very difficult moments was difficult to meditate because a lot of things was going on in my head. But again, I had support. That's crucial. You don't have to go through those things alone because I could not have overcome all that I'm overcome without my family support from Brazil, my relative, my mother, my sister, my brother, and nephews and niece, whatever. But my daughter that was very huge support. I could not do that without them. And even my family, Brazil Financial, they are helping me at the moment because I have a big debt. But what I may say is, don't give up. I'm still doing my energy work. I'm also doing another job to help me with the things, and it just keep you raise yourself. We always can raise out of the ashes. There is always a way out when you recognize really small, choosing myself over small in small moments, practicing a lot of self-love, self-acceptance, not as an idea, but as a daily practice. Permission for that, permission to love myself and to do self-love, self-acceptance. I had to give myself permission to stare at the woman in front of her and learn to love herself unconditionally and value herself unconditionally.
Yeah. And on that note, obviously, like you've had struggles in relationships. Obviously, you mentioned you lost your identity while you were married, and then you had your twin flame journey, which is by its nature a very, very intense experience to go through. So how has that affected how you handle yourself in relationships now?
Oh my God, the one thing that I think that's very important, Haley, not just the twin flame, but also I lost this due to a fake love scam. It's very important to tell that. It was because of that. What I feel is, I always tell people, you don't have to put a barrier in yourself, in front of you. Don't put yourself locked like in a box. Give yourself to be vulnerable again. I did not lost on that. I'm not afraid to be vulnerable again, to be open to whatever comes to my life. I learned a lot of that. Don't go to the same situation again. It was a huge learning, but what I always tell people, when something happens in your life, remember this. There are good people, bad people. And there are good souls, bad souls, people that live in the light, people that live in darkness. Don't let yourself become darkness. Let yourself spread your own life because the right people surrender to whatever is in store for you and trust your inner. I know that my is difficult. I always trust on my own intuition, but my intuition got very blurred on this love scan. But when you really don't be afraid to be vulnerable and to be open because amazing things can come into your life. I'm very, I feel that vulnerability is one of the most beautiful qualities someone can happen. Don't let life make you put in front of you a huge protection shield. That's not that because if you protect yourself in that way, you won't be able to experience the beauty of life as a whole.
Yeah. And that's what you're learning now. So you've learned not to close yourself off even though all
Yes,
this has happened, um
yes.
and to still allow yourself to be vulnerable because that's the only way you're going to experience
Of
life.
course, yes, absolutely. Look, I learned a lot of that experience, absolutely. Since my twin flame, I have been learning a lot. And I learned a lot, but at the same time, I know that life is about us give a chance, second chance to ourselves. We need to give ourselves second chances. We cannot just stop don't give ourselves second chance because amazing things can come to your life and a lot of beauty will come in your way. We cannot be afraid, we cannot live with fear inside ourselves, really. There is always a way that you can overcome that fear. And you really, and these beautiful things start to happen to you.
That's amazing. So what are you still learning? Because obviously you've mentioned a few times now that you're on this roller coaster journey, and sometimes things go well, but there's still some struggles that keep cropping up, and obviously you're in the middle of rebuilding everything at the minute. So what are you finding that you're still struggling with? Are you learning new things about yourself and what you're willing to accept, what you're not willing to accept?
Yeah, I think that that's a very good point, like what I'm still learning. So, first thing is, I'm not going to lie to you that some days I still feel, oh my God, is it still a struggle to don't be financial in a place that I can be, have stability financially. That's one thing that is very difficult when you are collapsing financially, like I am. I'm still going through that. But what I realize is really shows up for myself. And it's, when those moments, difficult moments come into my memory again, use that and really see how much I have progressed. And without just showing up for myself, I don't want to keep it rushing. I may live one day at a time. And I'm not trying to control the outcome. I'm not trying to rush into anything. And I'm living a day that I can feel okay from the inside, that I can feel safe from the inside. So it's really, for me, it's little things. First thing is wake up in the morning. I know that sounds like, for example, that works for me. That's what I may say. For example, in the morning I wake up and I may really do a gratitude meditation, a short one, because I feel that when I'm grateful for everything, even the lessons, I feel that I can start my day in a better way. Sometimes I like to journaling, that it helps me when those emotions come back. I told you about the breath work. Also, one thing that has helped me a lot, that was an envision my future life. That has helped me in a way that I never expected. When I decide to do that, I created this 7 minutes audio record that I listen every morning. And that's helped me to really be energetically in a higher vibration. And again, doing little things. I think we really have to remember that we have to keep working ourselves, doing things that we put yourself in a state that you feel peaceful from the within, and with that you can feel in your heart space that love towards yourself. Because one thing that I learned from all this situation was that the most important being in this planet Earth, this most important being is staring in front of me. That's me. I had to really know that this is the most the love has to be the biggest source of love, has to be towards myself first. And when you learn that you can overcome things. And when you are not have a good day, just let those emotions come into you, because then you start to release a lot. Healing is like that, Haley. That's because so many people they avoid to do, because it's not easy. It's like a roller coaster, more go bumps and go highs, but it'll be less bumps and more highs. And again, coming back, if it was not for my twin flaming journey, to be honest, I don't think that this scan I think my twin flaming journey prepare me emotionally to be able to overcome what I'm going through now
Mm-hmm.
in a way that was not as painful as should be.
Yeah.
Does it make sense for you or not?
Yes, it does. Yeah. Do you ever find yourself kind of going back to those behaviors that you had when you were married, like when because of the stress and the pressure that's on you to try and rebuild everything and get back to that level of financial stability that you had? Do you ever worry that you're potentially losing your identity because you're doing things that don't necessarily align?
I wouldn't say that losing my identity, but what I would say was try to control things. I think that's the main thing for me. Try to control situations that I just had to let it go, because what I realized on my marriage was I really lost a lot. I lost that. I lost the passion. I lost the drive. I lost the because I was always a very soft person, a very light person, a very light being. And on my marriage, I became this sour person, a different person. And people always thought that I was always a very easy person to be around because I was always very relaxed. And of course, during this, especially during these last episodes of my life that I'm going through, of course, some moments I was like I could not shine my own light because it was very difficult to find that space that I could be in a calm place because it was has been through a lot. That's normal. You can go to that. I wouldn't say that I went back to that old person that I was before my marriage. No, because I have done a lot of inner work through the years. And one thing that's interesting, many people don't believe that, but through all this year doing my inner work and my energy healing and in my healing, I went through a couple of past lives and going through those past lives that I faced, that those helped me also to overcome what I'm doing now. Because from those past lives, I knew the learning from those past lives shaped who I'm becoming nowadays as well.
That's incredible. And like you can tell you talked about resilience and like finding that resilience in yourself because of everything that you've been through. And I can feel it as you're talking. You've got such a positive attitude for somebody who's been through as much as you've got. And I really, really commend you for that because I think it would destroy a lot of people and there would be very little coming back from it. So well done for doing all the work that you needed to do to get to where you are.
Thank you so much. I really believe that first we need to be willing to recognize what you are going through. We have to recognize whatever season you are going in your life, you have to recognize that is real. What you are going through is real. And you have to realize that it's real and it goes through the emotions. Really be able to don't be always strong. Give yourself permission to feel that pain, to feel that pain, that hardship. And when you feel, give yourself permission to that, then also you are give yourself permission to start healing properly. Because if you don't, if you when you are still in that fear, you are not feeling safe. And if you don't feel safe, you will be living your life with a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, and then that's the problem because you are not facing what you have to face. You need to face our traumas. It's the only way that we can overcome that. Is easy? Hell no. That's why so many people avoid do the inner work, do the healing, because it's a roller coaster, guys. It's challenging. But I tell you one thing, I'm telling this from my core, from my heart space. Life, even with all those emotions, I tell you, all the pain, all the hardship, life is so beautiful. It's such an amazing and beautiful journey. There is so much beauty in life, no matter what life throws at you, what challenge you go through. When you learn to love yourself unconditionally, you'll always find a way out.
Yeah. I honestly, I wish this wasn't audio. I wish this was video because when you've just been talking, like watching you just, I was mesmerized because you can see so much passion coming off you when you're
I
talking
just
about this.
love humanity, Haley. I just love humanity. I love the humankind. I know that we are here to evolve. I know that we are here. We are beings of light and love. Never, never, never let the others take this away from you, your own light. Never let other people take that from you. We have our own light. And I always tell people that my clients that come to me on my ankle program, that's a 3 months program, I always tell them, we decide if you want to keep living life or in the darkness, because they are walking side by side. So it's up to you if you want to be light or not. We have that, we can decide that every day, even with all the struggles. And that was one thing on the skin that came to me that I felt shame. I felt the hardship. I felt the regret that I could not forgive myself for a couple of, until I could really start healing properly. There is always a way out. And when you find we pick light, nobody can destroy us. We can always find a way out.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on and taking the time to share your story with me. I really, really appreciate it. And I've loved talking to you and seeing the passion you have for what you do, and the resilience and the positivity you've got through all the trials you've gone through. If
I really appreciate that, Haley. And it's like, again, it's so beautiful for me. Do you know what, to be honest, what drives my soul most today is when someone comes to me and they need help. And after a few sessions, they start to become this beacon of love and light, and they learn to love themselves unconditionally. And that's when I know that I came here to help people. And that's when this happened, turns my whole life with so much more light and love, because helping someone just makes me to recognize what an amazing purpose I have in this life. And have the chance to do that puts my soul at so much easy and with so much beauty inside myself.
Oh, it's amazing. So if people want to connect with you or learn more about your energy work, your Reiki work, anything like that, how do they go about getting in touch with you?
Yeah, they can. I have my website that is Pura Vida Wellness and Holistic Healing. They can also find me on social media, Andrea Hinojosa Healing. And they also can text me. That is my telephone number on my website. And they can text me. I'm always open. My clients know that they can always reach out to me anytime. So they can find me social media, my website, or even text me on my, and my number is on my website. That is still being, I'm still changing my website, but okay, my contact is still there. And they can still see a lot of things in my website.
That's amazing. I'll make sure the links get put in the description of the podcast. So if anybody out there wants to contact you, the links will be there ready for them. Again, thank you so much for sharing your story with me and taking the time to kind of share your story with the world, I guess. And thank you for listening at home. And I will speak to you all again next week.
Thank you so much for tuning in. I know these conversations aren't always easy to sit with, so we really appreciate you sticking through it. If you want to keep the conversation going, you can join our Discord community at www.halleyryan.co.uk/Discord, and we'll see you next week.